My man, what's happening?
What's up? Tuesday. I know we got a lot to talk about. I mean, the Mets let a couple touchdowns last night against the Nats. Unfortunate loss. I'm sorry, I had to throw that in.
Well, but you know what? So let's take your use of the football term touchdown, not a baseball term, although a term in baseball to define how you lost by a lot. You got crushed, and the Metropolitans did. And so we're facing the reality that college football is not happening. This has been trickling through over the last 4 or 5 days. We get the formality of the Big Ten, the Pac-10. It's just a matter of time for the SEC. In fact, has the SEC come through and said they're playing yet? Have they said anything?
So as of this, I have not seen it, but I think everything was predicated on the Big Ten. I think that's still look, despite the fact that the SEC in terms of success has been off the charts. I think the Big Ten still drives the bus. So I think them making that announcement, everybody's going to line up behind. You said the Pac-10 or Pac-12 or Pac-37, whatever it is now, but the SEC won't be far behind. And look, I happen to think, and maybe you disagree or maybe you do agree, I think a lot of the reversal in the market today was predicated, well, one, the fact that the markets only goes up every single day and it needed to have a off at some point. And two, I think people say, wait a second, there's not going to be college football. I don't think people understand the ramifications to the economy without college football on Saturdays in the fall. For some of these towns, that's their lifeline.
It's going to be devastating, and it's interesting because we could devolve into it's not devolve. It's actually a pretty interesting conversation. What's the most important college football conference? And depending on where you attended school and what part of the country you are in, you have a view. As a Northeastern guy who went to a Jesuit institution in the Mid-Atlantic, a school that might even have had a college football program when I was there. Just kidding, Guy. Come on, man.
I know. I wasn't going to take that bait. I was just waiting. I was just going to let it go.
All right. So, but I'm referencing folks that Guy played gridiron. He was a gridiron gamer for the Georgetown Hoyas up on McDonough Field. Is that right? Is that where we were?
Yates, up on top of Yates.
On top
back
of Yates.
in the day. And I got to tell you something. That's like the highest point in D.C. Not that anybody cares.
It's beautiful up there. I mean,
there's an observatory right next to it. So literally it's the highest point, and the wind howls up there. Let me tell you something. It blows.
It howls up there, and it was a place to go, like, at night even, maybe with romantic interest. I don't know. But I will not cover that. But I mean, I'm from the Northeast. I didn't grow up with college football. But if I grew up, and I would argue that the SEC is the most important football conference in the country. I've said this before. I married into the SEC. Go Gators. And my view is that if you think about the schools that are the flagship cities in the Southeastern Conference, I think this is critical. I think this is more important than Disneyland. This is more important than airlines. This is more important than Boeing. This is more important than cruise lines. These are jobs. These are, and as much as the restaurant industry has already been ravaged, if you're a restaurant in Tuscaloosa or in Gainesville, or in Athens, or one of these fantastic cities, frankly, across the South that house a major SEC football team. You get through the rest of the year to then build it in for game day, and game day
100%.
is everything. So I'm scared for what this means for certain parts of our country, because it's one thing to kind of get through. It's another thing. That's what they do the rest of the part of the year, and then they need to make it during the peak season. Let alone what we're all going to lose as sports fans. So it's a sad day.
And you have to ask yourself, I mean, listen, we both understand that they were going to do everything under God's green earth, as they say, to get a season without question, because they could care less about the student athletes. The amount of money that's generated from college football is staggering.
I don't think you really mean that. You think they mean nothing?
No, look, do I really mean it? No, but do I think they look?
The point is well taken.
Safety is number one? Absolutely not. So the fact that they pulled the ripcord on this, to me, speaks volumes. And I think look, I'm not trying to be an alarmist here, but for them to do it, you just wonder what they see that the rest of us aren't seeing. And to your point about Disney World and the rest of these things, look, I don't know why the market sold off today. We're just speculating as to the reason why. I think this had a lot to do with it, though, Tim.
If you lived, and by the way, imagine you are in Lexington, Kentucky, or you live somewhere, you live somewhere in Georgia, outside of, I mean, are you flying those little plastic flags out of each window of your pickup as you're
100%.
driving around? Yeah,
100%.
Yeah,
100%. And listen, I mean, I've heard that I've never been to the University of Alabama. I've never been to an Auburn, Alabama game, or the largest
War Eagle
party.
Yeah.
I mean, these things are events.
Florida, Georgia.
People,
I mean, yeah.
They plan their year around
Of course they do.
Rightly so. So to have this pulled, or at least we think the SEC is going to get, that's catastrophic for these towns, and it has huge trickle-down effects for these local economies. And again, when you're talking about the United States, which is 70% or so driven by people spending money, this is just one less, arrow in that quiver. And it's, you can't just say it's not a big deal. I think at a certain point, these are all big deals.
I think people have been hanging on. I hate to be Debbie Downer, but it's back to a market that's turned today. And I mean, actually, the NASDAQ names have given up the most, have the biggest changes in kind of the day over day, and where I think there's more pressure. And I think some of this is rotation. Some of this was just these names that you just can't build these castles to the sky at some point. Even just the sheer size of these companies as Apple approaches a $2 trillion market cap. But back to the college football story, I think people have been kind of hanging on. And I think if you really force a lot of these regions around the country that are built around college football, and I mean built around universities, let's be clear. Again, kids not going back to school in the fall is a combination of student athletics and big time programs. It's also just a function of every other. I mean, think of these cities. These are college towns, but these are not small towns. But they are certainly built around a student, population that is then served by all types of professional services and restaurants and hospitality and real estate, you name it. And you got to this also by talking about, also you were effectively saying that 70% of the economy are also small businesses, small business and service economy. And those entrepreneurs are folks that I think were already beleaguered. So that's why today, the perspective for the market is S&P made all-time highs. Maybe this is, we'll look at this as the outside reversal day, and I'll let you explain those technical terms. But it's a day that it's at least appropriate to think about college athletics, how important they are culturally, but economically, the business of college sports. And then this begs the other question: why is it okay for pro sports to go back and college sports not to? But we may not have enough time on that one today.
Probably not. But, and in closing, I think it's really interesting. Again, credit to you on this one. But the fact that Disney actually closed positive today in the wake of a market reversal, in the wake of that news about college football is interesting. I wonder if there's going to be like a one-day lag effect. We'll see. But, obviously this is right in Disney's sweet spot in terms of ESPN and what it means for them. So a lot of weird things going on today. It's one of those days I think you want to mark on your calendar. Tomorrow we can talk about, technicals, and we'll see what happens tomorrow in terms of if there's follow through or if it's just an anomaly. But the fact that, again, the VIX traded down, I think, with a 21 handle close, I think above 25 is interesting. To your point about the S&P 500, the reversal right around all-time highs, interesting. And take a look at Amazon in closing, folks. They reported a staggering quarter, but go back and look. They actually made its all-time high prior to reporting that quarter. So that's been actually lagging significantly since earnings. So a lot to take in here, a lot to digest. I'm sure we'll talk about it tomorrow as well, though, Tim.
What book are you reading on your Kindle these days?
Hockey Stars of 1974.
Who would be, let's see, Bernie
Bobby
Perrant,
Orr, Brad Park. I mean, I could throw some Jean Rattel.
Espo.
I mean, but, I digress.
Nicely done. All right, man. I'll see you tomorrow.
See you later.